One surefire way to help save our democracy, put Bill Barr behind bars. No pun intended. Check this out. Leave your comment, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. So much going on right now with regard to Bill Barr. You have this ultra-Trumpy judge, Naomi Rao, R-A-O, I'm assuming it's pronounced Rao, who she was a Trump appointee, in fact, a recent Trump appointee, along with a George Bush appointee, over the objections of a Barack Obama appointee. This is a three-judge panel in the D.C. Circuit, saying that, if Bill Barr does not want to prosecute Michael Flynn, even though he clearly committed crimes, in fact, arguably, according to Judge Sullivan, committed treason, sold out his country, that's Bill Barr's prerogative. The courts don't have to hear the case if he chooses not to bring it. And, the courts can't second guess the prosecutor. Now, there's a certain kind of twisted internal logic to that. But, where this goes next is going to be very, very interesting. In all probability, it'll go to I believe it's 11 members of the D.C. Circuit Court. This was just a three-judge panel. And all 11 judges will decide whether that's the case. And then the Supreme Court can choose to either leave that intact or pick it up. But I'm guessing this is not the end of this. At the same time, we have two prosecutors from the Department of Justice preparing to testify before Congress in the next few hours. This is truly mind-boggling. That they were, one of them saying that they were told to go easy on Roger Stone. Now, that was Michael Flynn we were talking about just a minute ago. Michael Flynn, who was being paid $500,000 by the government of Turkey to alter U.S. positions with regard to Turkey. Keep in mind, Jeffrey Berman, the SNDY, Southern District of New York prosecutor who was just fired by Bill Barr, was looking into this bank, this Turkish bank, that Donald Trump, according to John Bolton's book, had told President Erdogan of Turkey, I'll get rid of that prosecution once I get rid of Obama's people and put my people into the Southern District of New York. He explicitly said that, according to Bolton's book. So you had Mike Flynn, who was working for Turkey, who was being paid by Erdogan, at the same time that he was Trump's national security advisor, which, of course, is a crime. It's a felony. So you've got that case. That's the one that, these two Republican appointees. By the way, this is why Mitch McConnell has been on a screaming tear to put as many of these young right-wing lawyers, many of them with no trial experience whatsoever, many of them never even argued a case in a courtroom, on the federal bench with lifetime judicial appointments, so that they can do the bidding of the oligarchs who own Mitch McConnell, and of which Donald Trump is one. So anyhow, that's the Mike Flynn situation. Then with Roger Stone, you've got Aaron Zelinsky, who was a U.S. attorney, who was a prosecutor in the DOJ, and John Elias is also going to testify today. Zelinsky is going to testify that the people in his office, his supervisors, and the big question is whether he will name his supervisors at the Department of Justice, were, quote, afraid of Trump. Actually, the quote was afraid of the president. I'm reluctant to refer to him that way because I don't consider him my president. He did not win a majority of votes and he has not behaved like a president. But in any case, so you've got Zelinsky, who is going to be saying, and it isn't ironic, he sort of shares a last name with the Ukrainian president. He is going to be saying, we went easy on Roger Stone, the old Nixon operative, who is now the Trump operative, who it turns out, now that we've seen the unredacted portions of the Mueller report, Roger Stone was the connection between the Russian oligarchs who handled the hacking of Hillary Clinton's emails and handed them off to WikiLeaks, between those folks, the WikiLeaks Russian folks, and Donald Trump himself personally. Roger Stone is the one who can put Trump in prison, who demonstrates that Trump committed treason. So Trump, at the very least, is probably terrified of Roger Stone. So Trump is saying, go easy on Roger Stone, and these guys are like, well, this prosecutor, Zelensky, is saying, well, here's what he said in his prepared remarks. He says, quote, I was also told that the acting U.S. attorney was giving Stone such unprecedentedly favorable treatment because he was afraid of the president. We were told by a supervisor that the U.S. attorney had political reasons for his instructions, which our supervisor agreed was unethical and wrong. However, we were instructed that we should go along with the U.S. attorney's instructions because this is, quote, not the hill worth dying on, and that we could, quote, lose our jobs if we did not toe the line. And this all followed a 3 a.m. tweet by Donald Trump saying that the proposed, I believe it was 8 years in prison for Roger Stone, was he says, we cannot allow this miscarriage of justice. And hours later, senior Justice Department officials were saying, okay, we are dancing to the tune of Donald Trump. My words, not theirs. Zelensky and 3 other colleagues withdrew themselves from the Stone case. One of them, Jonathan Kravis, actually left the Department of Justice. And the guy who filed new sentencing recommendations, who did Bill Barr's dirty work, who did Donald Trump's dirty work on behalf of Roger Stone, was U.S. Attorney Timothy Shea, just for the record. The other guy who's going to testify, Mr. Elias, is going to testify, John Elias is going to testify that Bill Barr told him to go hard on car companies that were going along with California's emission rules. That part of it is getting almost no publicity. This is obviously in behalf of the fossil fuel billionaires. And then also to trash the marijuana, the legal marijuana industry, by subpoenaing them and forcing them to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees to produce millions of documents. You know, in my opinion, impeaching Barr won't just protect us from corrupt senior law enforcement officials. It'll also strengthen our protection against this dangerous autocrat, Donald Trump. Trump famously said, where's my Roy Cohn? Well, he's got it in Bill Barr. And as we head toward the November election and then the January 20th installation of hopefully a new president, Donald Trump becomes more dangerous by the day. He has learned how to use the levers of power in the White House. He's applying them in increasingly appalling ways and corrupt ways. He's transferred over $2 trillion of your and my tax money to himself and his corrupt oligarch billionaire friends. He's corrupting the flow of money in our country. He's also corrupted the flow of justice, of criminal justice in our system. Bill Barr should certainly be impeached and then prosecuted for the very clear crimes he's committed while in office. But more important, he needs to be impeached as soon as possible to remove from Donald Trump the power to, quote, help my friends and punish my enemies. A power that's the hallmark of a dictator. Impeaching Bill Barr is an absolutely essential step to saving our republic and restoring American democracy.